Hello, how are you today? How is it with your soul? How is it with your physical body? How is it with your mind? How is it with your heart? I'm so glad you are watching this afternoon. I'm coming to you from Hudson United Methodist Church in Hudson, North Carolina. I'm Pastor Holly McKim, and I am always very happy that you chose to join me. I'm doing this an hour early today. All of my women friends will understand. I have a hair appointment this afternoon. So forgive me for coming to you an hour early, and then feel free to comment later about my hair if you want to. But it's bringing me great delight. Number one, to see my hairdresser, who I haven't seen in about 3 months. She's a good friend of mine. But I'm happy that you are here. Thank you for joining us today for Midweek Manna. I call it Midweek Manna because it's my hope, it's my prayer that something that is said will nourish you during this time of pandemic, during this time when it seems like everything is hard to do. Everything is harder. I'm hopefully giving you something that you can tuck back in your brain and gnaw on for a little while and think about it and think on it. And then it will give you nourishment this day. Speaking of nourishment, there's an author that I enjoy reading. She's especially a wonderful speaker, preacher, Barbara Brown Taylor. Many of you might have heard of that name. Barbara Brown Taylor used to be an Episcopal priest, and she wrote a book about leaving church. I didn't know her at that time, had not really read anything about her, and I found myself getting mad at her reasoning for leaving the priesthood. She didn't leave ministry. She went to a theological school and is a professor of religious studies. And she still writes, and she still speaks, and she still preaches. I had the opportunity to hear Barbara Brown Taylor speak. It was at a homiletics conference in Atlanta. Also, Desmond Tutu, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, was a speaker. So if you have time or inclination, either one of those, find anything on the internet and hear them speak and preach. That's nourishment for me. Barbara Brown Taylor continues to write, and I wanted to use one of her books today as nourishment, as manna for us in our time together. The book is entitled An Altar in the World, A Geography of Faith, Barbara Brown Taylor. And she begins her book with a story about herself. She was asked to come and preach at a church in Alabama, and she describes the wise old priest invited her, and when she asked him, "What do you want me to preach about? What do you want me to speak on?" And he said, "Come tell us what is saving your life now." He invited her into his church, into the pulpit, to preach, to give manna on a Sunday morning, and he wanted her to speak, "What is giving you life now?" She goes on to say, "What is saving my life now is becoming more fully human, trusting that there is no way to God apart from real life in the real world." I'm going to read that again. She says, "What is saving my life now is becoming more fully human and trusting that there is no way to God apart from real life in the real world, meaning the here and now. We can't get to God without going through the here and the now. Now think about that. What lessons are we learning? What lessons are we learning about ourselves, about our faith? Are we a fair weather, faithful fan of Jesus Christ? We're a fan when things are going well, and then we're a complaining lot when things are bad. What are we learning about ourselves right now? I'm learning I need to set limits. I need to set limits on the things that don't give me life right now. I need to continue working in the ministry of Jesus Christ and giving the good news, spreading the good news, being kind to my neighbor. Those are the things that are giving me life right now. My physical discomfort, my interruption to my daily routine, my work being interrupted, having to preach to an empty sanctuary each Sunday, but also coming to you in this format, social media, live. I never dreamed of being a televangelist. That wasn't a course that I signed up for in theological education in seminary. And here I am, doing the best I can. But it is giving me life to be able to preach the word. So again, I ask you, what is giving you life now? You might be thinking, Holly, everything right now is just sucking the life out of me. I'm at home with my children. I'm working my fingers to the bone on my job. I have an essential job, or maybe your job's been furloughed and you're wondering, where's my next paycheck coming from? Maybe your unemployment check hasn't started. Maybe you haven't seen family in so long and you're longing for that connection. Maybe you're feeling like everything is going against you. And I invite you to find something. It might be small. A bird feeder full of feed and watching the birds that come to feed. A gardenia or a hydrangea bush that's getting ready to just explode with blossoms. Just watching your tomato plants bloom and grow. Watching the things that you've planted, giving care to them, tending to them, making sure that they have plenty of water. Maybe it's a phone call to someone you haven't talked to in a long time. I don't get to see my mother, but I call her almost every day. And what a joy it is. We have laughed more in the last 9 weeks than I think we have in years. We just find things that amuse us. What is giving you life? Barbara Brown Taylor says, you know, we have to go through this life right now in the real world. We have to go through this to get to God. We can't live our lives apart from God. We can't live this life apart from God. What is giving you life? Do more of that. Maybe it is that sweet cup of coffee in the morning. Or just holding hands, being silent with your spouse. Or maybe it's just sitting in the silence and enjoying, listening to the bird song, listening to some music. What is giving you life now? Barbara Brown Taylor gives us a poem. It's translated for us by Scott Kern, but it was written by Saint Irenaeus and about 125, 125, somewhere between 125 and 210. That's when he lived. I want you to hear how on point right now this is about living our life and finding life in the right now, in the here, in the now. I lift up this poem by Saint Irenaeus. The tender flesh itself will be found one day, quite surprisingly, to be capable of receiving, and yes, full capable of embracing the searing energies of God. Co-figure, fear not, for even at its beginning the humble clay received God's art, whereby one part became the eye, another the ear, and yet another was this impetuous hand. Therefore, the flesh is not to be excluded from the wisdom and the power that now and ever animates all things. His life-giving agency is made perfect, we are told, in weakness, made perfect in the flesh. May you find something today, tomorrow, the next day. May you find something that is giving you life now, in the here and the now. Today, seek it out. If you're having trouble finding it, maybe pray, Lord, show me where the life is, the light and the way. It is in Jesus Christ. My friends, I pray for you. I pray that you have a blessed day. In whatever you're doing today, in work, in staying at home, in staying safe, may you be blessed and may you find life. Amen, amen, and amen. Thank you for joining us.